The episode begins with Dunk rotting in a jail cell. It's unclear how long he's been there, but it's long enough for him to appear famished when Egg arrives with some food. Gone are the dirty brown robes we grown accustomed to Egg wearing. Instead, he enters donning a formal outfit more expected from a Prince Aegon. We quickly see that Dunk is very upset with Egg, and rightfully so. Although more by omission rather than outright contradiction, Egg had been lying to him, selfishly putting a commoner at high risk for the sake of his own entertainment, as Baelor later explains. We learn that the drunk man we saw at the inn that had dreamt of Dunk was actually Egg's older brother, Maekar's other missing son Daeron. Daeron was supposed to take Egg up to Ashford and participate in the tournament himself. Egg was even all set to be his squire. However, in his cowardice and extreme aversion to combat, Daeron kept Egg cooped up at the inn, shaving his head so he wouldn't be recognized by his Targaryen hair and they could lay low until the tournament was over. Egg, still desperately wanting to see the tournament and be a squire for a night, snuck away and latched onto Dunk, a knight he knew didn't recognize him. Finding out that Prince Baelor is waiting for him, Dunk immediately halts eating his meal despite how hungry he is, and has himself escorted over to Baelor's chambers. There, we quickly see that, despite the anger he was filled with just moments prior, Dunk still has softness and fondness toward Egg. He tells Baelor that Egg won't spill the wine when he japes as such, and that Egg's a good boy. After Baelor has Egg leave the room, we learn the true gravity of Dunk's situation. Dunk's accusations have been compounded. Not only is he still set to be tried for striking Aerion, now Daeron has lied and accused Dunk of kidnapping Egg to avert his blame and save his own skin. How good a knight are you? Baelor questions Dunk. His question alludes to his skill in combat, for you see, if Dunk were to have a standard trial, he would obviously be found guilty. While Baelor has demanded execution be off the table, he can't deny Aerion and Maekar the precedent punishment. Dunk punched and kicked Aerion, a member of the royal family, so he would have to lose the hand and the foot that he used. However, Baelor informs Dunk that every knight has the option to demand a trial by combat in the place of a standard trial. This form of trial would require Dunk to best Aerion in a duel in order to prove his innocence, the gods supposedly allowing whoever is innocent to win, showing their favor. Obviously persuaded by Baelor's suggestion, we then cut to Dunk demanding a trial by combat to those who would be his judges, Maekar, Baelor, and Lord Ashford. Aerion refuses the demand, but is quickly scolded by his dad Maekar, who informs him that he can't refuse. Every knight is entitled to this form of trial if they demand it. In turn, Aerion demands the trial by combat be a trial by 7. While Aerion claims this is so his brother Daeron can get justice too for Dunk's quote-unquote kidnapping of Egg under his watch, we, as well as Maekar, know that's just an excuse, and that Aerion's actually just too cowardly to face Dunk alone. How a trial by 7 works is that, rather than the accused simply fighting the accuser directly, each side picks 6 other knights to fight alongside them. Supposedly, this would cause the 7 faces of the god in the Faith of the Seven to better guide the result of the battle toward justice, since the format of the battle would be directly honoring them. However, this format also gives Aerion another layer of protection. While he, as a member of the royal family, would, almost by default, be able to find 6 knights to fight alongside him, it would be significantly harder for Dunk to find 6. And a side who can't find 6 additional men is automatically disqualified and deemed guilty. The Targaryens then let Dunk go to try to find the 6 men he needs to fight alongside him. By the time Dunk gets out of the castle, it seems to be the middle of the night already, and the deadline is dawn. He heads back to his camp to find his horses tied and tended to, thanks to Raymond Fossaway, who reveals he took care of them while Dunk was in jail. Raymond then brings Dunk back to his tent, where his knight cousin, Stefan, pledges to fight on Dunk's side and rally more men to do so. Despite his asshole behavior in episode 1, he promises Dunk he won't let him die. Stefan then sets off to supposedly rally those additional men, and soon after, 2 others arrive at the Fossaway tent. It's Egg, accompanied by a cloaked man. He's revealed to be Daeron, who we, at this point, see was the drunk man from the inn in episode 1. Without thinking, Dunk immediately attacks Daeron. He falsely accused Dunk of a second serious crime after all, and what's another assault on a prince when his life is already on trial for that? Dunk is quickly stopped, and Egg and Daeron reveal they're there to update him on the latest developments in the situation. Maekar himself has joined his son Aerion's team for the battle, and has commanded 3 members of the Kingsguard to do so as well. Daeron has been forced to join the enemy team too, but he's no fighter, and not wanting to risk his life, he promises to purposely fall off his horse early on and play defeated for the rest of the battle. This leaves 5 of Aerion's 6 teammates known and accounted for. We then get 2 other important pieces of information from this scene. The first is the true reason Egg hates his older brother Aerion, other than Aerion being just a generally awful person, of course. We learn that Aerion horribly abused Egg throughout his whole childhood. 2 of the likely many available examples we get is Aerion drowning Egg's cat and sneaking into his room and holding a knife to his genitals. If it wasn't abundantly clear already, Aerion is a sick monster. When Daeron then takes Dunk outside for a private word, we get another interesting revelation. Daeron's dreams aren't just normal dreams. they come true. Daeron has the Dragon Dreamer ability, a type of magic that sometimes emerges in the Targaryen bloodline, giving them prophetic visions of the future in the form of their dreams. However, the visions in these dreams are symbolic, not explicit, requiring interpretation. We saw Helaena have this ability in House of the Dragon, and Daenerys have it in Game of Thrones. In Daeron's dream, he saw a giant dragon fall on Dunk. While the dragon died, Dunk survived. We then move to Dunk wandering the village in the rain, wallowing in his hopelessness. However, his spiraling train of thought is interrupted by the blacksmith from whom he commissioned his armor from, Steely Pate. He brings Dunk out of the rain and into his shop. There, he informs Dunk that Tansel and her theater troupe fled Ashford and are already on their way back to Dorne. They naturally wanted to avoid any more unnecessary persecution in the aftermath of the incident. Tansel, however, didn't leave before giving Steely Pate Dunk's finished shield to hold on to. The shield came out exactly how Dunk envisioned, depicting a tree under a beautiful sunset with a shooting star in the sky. Dunk starts to doubt the logic of his own request, thinking a sunset and a falling star could signify death. Steely Pate reminds him, however, that the tree is alive and growing. He also did Dunk the favor of enforcing his shield to make it stronger. When Dunk asks how much he owes him for this, he says just a copper, the Westerosi equivalent of $1 or $2. Despite his gruff and scammy exterior in episode 2, deep down, he's a good person and he's on Dunk's side, through and through. With dawn approaching, Dunk and Steely Pate make their way to the tournament grounds, unsure of what awaits them. There he finds Egg, along with 4 men who have pledged to fight by his side. The first is Humphrey Harding, the man who Aerion injured by cheating in their joust and stabbing his horse. While his leg was broken by the falling horse, he claims he can still ride. The next is Humphrey Beesbury, a man we have not met yet and don't really know anything about. Why George chose to give 2 men in the same group the same first name, I'll never know. Though we don't know much about him, we did, however, see his ancestor Lyman Beesbury in House of the Dragon. He had his head smashed in by Criston Cole for standing up for Rhaenyra at the Green Council. The next member of the group is Robin Riesling, the one-eyed warrior fanatic who Egg ran into at the beginning of the previous episode. And last, but certainly not least, is Lionel Baratheon, the Laughing Storm himself. Along with Stefan's promised pledge, this gives Dunk 5 men, only needing 1 more to complete his team. We learn that, despite Stefan's promise to rally men to Dunk's side, it was actually Egg who went to each of them and persuaded them to join. Stefan, who had been missing, then arrives at the scene, revealing that rallying men wasn't the only promise to Dunk that he broke. He switched over to Aerion's side, persuaded by the promise of a lordship. His cousin's betrayal was the last straw for Raymond, who, in that moment, quits being his squire. Raymond instead begs Dunk to knight him so he could join his team, for any knight can make a knight. Dunk hesitates, clearly thinking he's either not worthy or truly eligible to grant a knighthood. However, when horns blare to signal that time is up, Lionel tells Dunk to ride ahead and knights Raymond himself instead. Raymond's knighting, however, still leaves Dunk with only 5 men to fight by his side. He'll need to find 1 more knight immediately, or he'll be disqualified and automatically deemed guilty. In desperation, he asks Lord Ashford for permission to give 1 last plea to the crowd, which he is granted. Here, Dunk gives a very powerful speech, attempting to appeal to the lords and knights in attendance. Sadly, they all either ignore his pleas or outright mock him. The Westerosi nobility prove their corruption, hypocrisy, and complacency with the system. It seems that there really are no true knights among them. Just when all hope seems lost, the doors to the battleground open, and in rides a knight. Removing his helmet, he reveals himself as Baelor Targaryen, and pledges to fight on Dunk's side. Baelor, Hands of the King and heir to the throne, has decided to go against his own family to fight for what's right. And that about does it for episode 4. Other than another forced gross out joke, which I'm getting sick and tired of, this episode was fantastic, pulled pretty much page for page from the book with almost no changes. I can't wait to see the rest of this incredible story put to screen over the next 2 weeks. If you enjoyed this breakdown and would like to see more Song of Ice and Fire content of this nature, be sure to hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next week for episode 5, the penultimate episode of season 1.